Welcome to The Money Hour with host Tina Mitchell and co-host Keelan Harvey. Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, and Keelan Harvey, MLO 1330075, are licensed loan originators with Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, and MLS 7233. The views expressed by the speakers on the following program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, nor are they necessarily endorsed by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC. Now, in the studio, local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome to the Money Hour at 11:50 a.m. KKNW, the Saturday, October 27th show. I am your host, Tina Mitchell.
And your co-host, Keelan Harvey.
We are your local mortgage experts, bringing in expert advice and inside knowledge on today's events in our local economy and how it can affect your money. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we are both here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that we have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150. Or online at themoneyhour.com. And the lineup for today's show, we have Amy Morrison with Compass, first time in studio today. And great topic, we're going to talk about how is having a baby and buying a home similar. Also in studio, we have Troy Thiel with Thiel Team at Windermere, the shifting market and how do we upshift. Great information and great guests in studio today. As always, if you have any questions for our amazing guests, you can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And we'll start out today's show as we do each week with a little money chat.
Money.
A little bit about Money Chat or on Money Chat today in the mortgage arena where Keelan and I have our space. We're going to talk about property inspection waiver, PIW. Property inspection waiver is when an appraisal is not required. Now, not to confuse with a home inspection, the appraisal determines the value of the home and the home inspection determines the condition of the home. Now, we've seen recently, Keelan and I both, in our refinances and purchase loans, a lot of PIW come up, which is a little bit unusual from what we've seen in the past, or at least the recent past. And so the shift in the market, it's crazy that we've kind of seen these PIWs come up now that there's been a little shift in the market. But what a PIW is when Fannie Mae, which is an automated system that is utilized, DU, desktop underwriting through Fannie Mae, is an automated system that lenders put the loans through that determine what is required from the borrower for qualifications. And based on information that is pulled through the automated system, comps and things that are coming up, sometimes Fannie Mae will state that it's a PIW, property inspection waiver, which means that the lender is not going to require an appraisal on that property. So the benefit for the consumer is they're going to not have to pay that fee for the appraisal. Another benefit is it's going to make the process smoother in the closing timelines because you're not waiting for an appraisal. If there is any conditions and things that an appraiser may call, that's not going to be called because the appraiser doesn't go out to the property. So as a buyer, potential buyer coming in and purchasing a home, or whether you're looking at refinancing your property, it's important to know that the lender is not saying that the property is valued at what you're paying for it or what the value that you're trying to get for a refinance that the lender is lending on. They're just saying based on the data through algorithms and systems online are determining that it looks like the value is safe. So you will, as a buyer, have to sign a disclosure stating that you understand that the lender's not saying that the value is there, and it's up to you as a buyer and whether you feel comfortable moving forward with that or not. There could be inaccuracies as far as square footage and things that are going on in the market, and if you're concerned about the value, you may make that decision to pay for an appraisal. Now, there are three types of appraisals that Fannie Mae's automated underwriting can ask for. The first one we just talked about was the PIW, which is no appraisal. There's an automated, the other one is automated underwriting that comes back with an interior exterior full appraisal. So this is the most common to be familiar with, is where the appraiser is going to go out and do a full inspection of the property. The appraiser is going to go into the property. They're not looking in great detail like an inspector would, but visually anything to their eye that looks like there might be issue, cracked paint or found cracked foundation or issues with the roof, then they would call to have that inspected to ensure that it's in condition that will approve based on what the lender wants. The next type of an appraisal would be a drive-by appraisal, and that's where they're not having to go into the property, but they're actually just driving by the property. And it's really strange. We're actually not seeing very many drive-by appraisals through the automated system, but lots of no appraisals. So a little bit I wanted to bring on Money Chat just because we're seeing it a lot more, and to let you know, again, you've got the option in whether you want to have that appraisal or not, just so that if you decide to not waive your appraisal per the lender's requirements for the loan and you want to get an appraisal, that appraisal is going to be used with the lender. So it's not like you're just getting an appraisal and the lender's not going to look at it. So just know that as well, that whatever the appraiser comes up with, whether it's a value that's not coming in or any work orders that the appraiser may call, now the lender is going to require to have that done. So a little bit for you on our Money Chat for the day. Coming up next in the Money Hour, how is having a baby and buying a house similar? Well, we have Amy Morrison with Compass right here at 1150 AM KKNW after the short break.
With over 30 years of real estate success in 3 major markets, the Thiel team knows what it takes to help their buyers, sellers, and developer clients achieve their real estate goals. Use an expert. Contact the Thiel team today for a free consultation. The combined skills, experience, and tools of the #1 office in the state, the Thiel team at Windermere Yarrow Bay will get you across the finish line. Call today at 425-941-8457 or email troythiel@windermere.com to connect.
Hi, I'm Troy Thiel, and my wife Karen and I are the Thiel team with the Windermere Yarrow Bay office in Kirkland. We work throughout the Seattle market, and we love helping people achieve their real estate goals. If you'd like to talk to us about what your goals are and how we can help you, give us a call at 425-941-8457.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell.
And your co-host, Keelan Harvey.
Your local mortgage experts right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 27th show. It is a great day to talk money, and that's what the show is all about, how to make money, save money, and have a better quality of life for you and your family. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but you can call into the show at 1-855-400-1150 to connect with our guest, or you can go online to themoneyhour.com. And in studio right now, Amy Morrison with Compass. How is having a baby and buying a house similar? Thank you, Amy, for coming in. First time having you in studio with us.
Yeah, thank you, Tina. This is really fun to be here. Appreciate you guys inviting me.
Of course. And a little bit about Amy. Amy grew up in Redmond and graduated from the UW in Collaborative Literature. She has lived in Milwaukee for the last
Mukilteo.
Oh, that's what I meant to say. Thanks for correcting me there, Amy. She has lived in Mukilteo for the last 12 years and has 3 daughters, ages 16, 13, and 10. Amy is a doula for 7 years. She also substituted for the Mukilteo, thank you, School District for a few years and volunteered in the schools as a volleyball coach for Boys and Girls Club. In the past, she has also volunteered at Fred Hutch with cancer patients and was on the board of UW Medical Center Service League. For the past 6 years, she has been volunteering as a custom designer for her kids' drama program at their high school and middle school. She also volunteers for a community Lighthouse Festival every year. And Amy loves enjoying the Pacific Northwest lakes and mountains and wake surfing and snow skiing.
Wake surfing.
Wake
That's
surfing.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a lot
great.
of fun.
It's so fun. It's very fun.
So you touched on a very special place in my heart. So a doula. My doula, Katie Domingue, I hope I said that wrong, right. It used to be Katie Contos.
Okay.
Saved my life in my birth. My wife was done. She hated me, and Katie came in and saved the day. So you guys are miracle workers.
Oh, yeah.
And what an amazing thing. So that is a special person to do something of that nature. So I want to hear your perspective about how having a baby is like buying a house.
Yeah, well, I think my background, like you said, is a doula, and it's a journey. Like this whole going through childbirth is a journey. Buying a house is definitely a journey, and you're trying to get 2 or 3 or 4 entities onto the same page to negotiate and be able to have this experience be a positive experience. So I feel like all of the things that I learned as a doula about building trust with clients, I think being trustworthy is a huge part of what people are looking for in an agent. And so as a doula, I need my clients to trust me. And so I learned how to develop that trust with people. Being authentic is huge. Being vulnerable and being honest in everything that you do is a huge part of what people are looking for. I think especially with the market shifting and all the chatter that goes on, people aren't sure exactly what to trust. And so when you get a good agent that's going to be, one of my favorite words is advocate. I feel like my main goal as your agent, as your broker, is to be your advocate. And I really fine-tuned how to be an advocate through being a doula, but changing over into this this new calling for me, I definitely feel like I have a chance to work with people and make sure that they're protected, make sure that they have all the information that they need, especially the education, because they want to know what is true, what's really going on. They don't want to feel like you're kind of fluffing everything up and just to get them to buy something that they really shouldn't be getting into. So I want to protect their money and their investment there.
So what about helping a family find their perfect fit, that perfect home for that particular family?
Yeah. So I think it's really important that my perfect home and your perfect home are not going to look the same. How I use my space versus how you use your space is going to look different. So the first thing is to really get to know and understand how they use their space. And if they want a really great porch because they love barbecuing, then that's going to direct. We can immediately go into a house and see this is not the space. This isn't going to adhere to the way we like to live. The other thing that can be really important is schools. And because I grew up here, I know the school systems in all of the areas around here because I have friends and family all over this greater Seattle region. I feel like that can be a huge part of what people are looking for. They want the insider information. We can all see what's on the internet as far as square footage and number of bathrooms and all of that. But what people want to know when they're using an agent is, what can you tell me outside of everything I can see already on the internet? And those are going to be how can I use this space? Because I'm going to lots of houses, I'm touring all the time, I'm seeing how spaces are being used. And that's helpful as we go through and say, you could put a pool table in this area, or you could, use this for a theater room. And if you moved this wall, boy, that would really open all this up, and then it would really fit what you've been looking for. So.
Well, speaking of not to go back to doula,
Yeah,
I'm just passionate about it. She, the birth of my baby girl, London.
Yeah.
Our doula pointed out so many details that we didn't think about, and and things that I wouldn't even know about unless I was educated. And so that's a huge thing. You made some points there about details that you don't really think about or know even to ask.
Yes.
And it sounds like, that relates huge to somebody purchasing a home and,
Absolutely. And that's where that advocate comes in. You don't know what you don't know. So I'm there to teach you what you don't know, but in a way that doesn't feel like I'm controlling the situation, but rather teaching. Here's what we can expect when we put in an inspection. Here's what we can expect. We can expect that they may come back with nothing. They may come back with some things, and they may come back with all of it. And my job is to kind of educate, what that looks like, what you might feel, and how we're going to, go through that process.
So let's say I decided that I want to buy a home. Where do we start? What's your suggestion on where do we start this journey of purchasing a home?
Well, Keelan, you're going to really like this answer. I actually think the first thing that you need to do when you buy a house is get a really, really good mortgage lender.
I knew she was going to say that.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right.
So I know that a lot of people are out there and they're looking on the internet and they can see all these houses and they're like, oh, the first thing I need to do is go look at all these open houses and decide what house I want. No, that's not actually what you want to be doing. What you first want to do is understand your money and the power that your money has and all the choices that you have, because you may think, oh, we aren't going to be able to buy for 6 months. But did you know that they have different programs where you can put 0% down, 3% down, 5% down? Maybe your ability to buy is actually sooner than you think that it is. And so I really think that there's a lot of power in knowing what your money can buy.
Yeah, one common is, we need 20% down to get into a home, or if we don't have 20% down, we have to pay PMI, when the reality is you can do loan options where you don't pay it or you're buying it out. So, yeah, lending is a good place to start that plan. What about the importance of using a real estate agent?
Yeah. So even if you're not going to use me or our colleague here, you really should be using a real estate agent, because they, again, like Keelan talked about, they're really your advocate. They're teaching you the things that you don't know. Right now, a lot of people are thinking, oh, can I do for sale by owner? My house is just going to sell itself, kind of thing. And with this slowdown, I think we'll see a little bit less of that. But there are a lot of people that are trying to use some of these internet companies that are only charging 0.5% to just basically put your home on the MLS. And there is some flawed thinking. So I have a story about that. I helped a buyer buy a house that the seller was using one of those companies. And my buyer gets into the house and finds out that the house has bed bugs.
Ugh.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And so, here this seller had been thinking, oh, I'm saving all of this money by not using an agent. And what happened is that then he's on the hook because he didn't disclose it on our seller disclosure form. Had he disclosed it, then it would have been on the buyer to have accepted that as, oh, this house had bed bugs and I'm buying it with that risk. But because it wasn't disclosed, then now it's gone back onto the seller, and it's been an extenuating circumstance where he is still paying. So the thought that and that's where I could have educated him and taught him if I was on the seller side, oh yeah, don't fear that. Let's just go ahead and disclose it. We got to do full honesty, and so that you're protected.
Yep.
And so that's a huge thing. Another thing is that a lot of times you're going to get handed off with certain companies from person to person. I like building that relationship where I know you personally and I know, again, how you're going to use that space and really want to be looking for you and thinking outside the box of what you might be thinking of about how to get that for you.
Well, it's a competitive market with us as mortgage people, and really, you get what you pay for. That's at the end of the day, that's what it is. These companies are fighting for business and everything, and they're not in it to gouge you. They're in it to provide you a good service, and good service costs money. So you got to be very aware of what's going on with that. And if you're cutting costs, it's going to come out somewhere. So,
it is.
Where do you see? Let's talk about the market a little bit. Where do you see the market going?
Well, of course, we're hearing all of this, the market is slowing down. And what does that mean right now? And one of the positives of this slowdown is actually we have a lot more inventory than we've had in a really long time. So that actually is great news for buyers. The other thing we were seeing a lot of is buyer fatigue, where buyers were out, they were shopping, things were getting swept away, the perfect house just slipped out of their fingers. We were also seeing sellers be really super stingy with their prices. I did several offers this summer where the sellers just wouldn't negotiate. They wouldn't come down, or they wouldn't even counter the offer. So what's great about the slowdown is that buyers now have a little bit of a chance to get an idea of what they want, they can actually decide what they want, and then they can ask for more things. So we're not waiving inspection so much. We can ask for all of the contingencies that that you might want to ask for.
So what about selling? I mean, would you say it's a good time for a seller to sell their home?
Yeah, so this is a great question that's come up in a lot of our sales meeting. Like, is winter a good time to sell? So the reason why winter might be a really great time for you to still put your house on the market is there is less inventory during the winter. When you are in a competition with other houses, you want to be in the smallest pool. That's what makes it the seller's market that we were having. That's kind of normalized a little bit more now. But selling in the winter, especially if you have any kind of house that has any issues, like it is up to a freeway or it has a really steep driveway or any of those things that might make it hard to sell, winter is a great time to bring on your house. So
let's talk about Compass. So there was recently a merge, and
congratulations.
Congrats
Thank you.
on that. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And I know you're extremely passionate about Compass and what's happening and where you guys are going. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we definitely kind of surprised everyone with this merge. So I was with Avenue Properties, and Compass is an amazing company that's really making waves in the industry. They are kind of coming in and picking up kind of the top end of all of the high-end markets, and they want to gather 20% of the market share of the top 20 markets in the United States and then going on into the world. So that's kind of making waves there. Their main focus, Robert Refkin is an amazing leader, and their main focus is actually to focus on the agent. So his mother was an agent, and he feels passionate about creating technology that's going to support the agent. And so what makes me better for my client.
Yeah.
So I have all sorts of things to offer because of Compass. We have a new concierge program that is really interesting. You can basically get a loan from Compass and then pay for it at the end out of escrow. So once you have closed your deal, you can pay for, let's say you had carpet and paint and that kind of thing that needed to be done. A lot of people don't want to do that up front or even staging. That can be actually as a loan, and then it can come out of your
So really being
net.
able to help out the agents so they can make it easier for their buyers and sellers. That is
Absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining Keelan and I. It's great to have you in here for the first time. Would love to have you come back.
Thank you. I really appreciate having being here and hope to come back.
Wonderful. And coming up next on the Money Hour, the shifting market and how do we upshift. Troy Thiel of the Thiel team at Windermere right here at 11:50 a.m. KKNW after this short break.
With over 30 years of real estate success in 3 major markets, the Thiel team knows what it takes to help their buyers, sellers, and developer clients achieve their real estate goals. Use an expert. Contact the Thiel team today for a free consultation. The combined skills, experience, and tools of the #1 office in the state, the Thiel team at Windermere Yarrow Bay will get you across the finish line. Call today at 425-941-8457 or email troythiel@windermere.com to connect.
Hi, I'm Troy Thiel, and my wife Karen and I are the Thiel team with the Windermere Yarrow Bay office in Kirkland. We work throughout the Seattle market, and we love helping people achieve their real estate goals. If you'd like to talk to us about what your goals are and how we can help you, give us a call at 425-941-8457.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell.
And co-host Keelan Harvey.
Your local mortgage experts right here on 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 27th show. We are here to help you build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and one show at a time. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we're here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that we have on the show today. Please call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. In studio right now, Troy Thiel with the Thiel team at Windermere, the shifting market, and how do we upshift? Troy, I'm so excited to have you in studio. It's been way too long. I know you're just a crazy, crazy busy guy, and it's just an honor to have you here. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
And a little bit about Troy. With over 25 years of experience as a leader in the real estate industry, as a broker, consultant, CEO, and an active participant in the industry's organizations, Troy knows what it takes to help the Thiel team's clients reach their real estate goals. He has worked in 3 major marketplaces, Seattle East Side, Madison, Wisconsin, and Chicago North Shore, and has been award-winning sales producer and CEO in each one. Troy is a longtime industry and community leader in many areas, including government affairs regarding real estate, economic development, affordable and appropriate housing development, sustainable business organizations, bicycle and pedestrian advocacy, and more. Troy, again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
So I'm pretty excited about this, Troy, because it's been a theme. We're talking about the market. It was going 9,000 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden we pumped the brakes, and now everybody's kind of unsure. We're wondering what the heck is going on and why did it happen and where are we going? So it's just a lot about kind of the unknowns of the market. So where are we and why, in your opinion?
We are at an inflection point. We were the hottest market of any major city, obviously, in the country. For 23 months in a row, we were the fastest growing in terms of the median price. Mm-hmm. And with that said, every coin has 2 sides to it, right? Mm-hmm. So for those 23 months, we were the fastest becoming unaffordable, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And that's always a challenge. As a person who moved here intentionally because of the economic, amazing, dynamic energy that Seattle has, mm-hmm. there's obvious reasons why our story was so great for so long. That's a record of any major city in the country. And so we have the dynamic economy, it's techies, it's Boeing, it's, and there's so
Everything.
many fantastic jobs, right? Fantastic nature, fantastic
mm-hmm.
neighborhoods. I'm still blown away as I'm driving down 405 and there's Mount Rainier. I'm an Illinois guy. I mean, like a hill, a mountain is an overpass over a highway. I run out of breath as I ride my bike up to it. So it's an amazing story here, and the market has. I'm a simple guy, so I use 3 words, and the biggest one is affordability.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down, that is our major issue and why our market has changed. There's some other influences that we can talk about, but affordability is the dominant one. And when that change happens, there are 2 other words: confidence. People start to lose confidence in which direction the market's going.
Yeah.
And then there's perception, and perception may be wrong. Someone may believe that the market's doing this, and the reality is the facts might be something different, but
mm-hmm.
the perception will get them to move or not move, as it were.
Yeah.
And so, for example, right now, we sold 27% fewer properties September over September,
mm-hmm.
year over year in this marketplace. And there are some amazing values there. And you as lenders know interest rates aren't going to go down.
Yeah, no.
Right? And we're seeing price reductions. We're seeing sellers bringing their properties on for 5, 10, 15% less than they would have in
mm-hmm.
March or April, where there would have been multiple offers for us to deal with. And so one of the things about the fourth quarter is it's usually the best time to be a buyer, because
mm-hmm.
interest rates tend to be at the lowest for the year. Mm-hmm. And with other factors happening, it looks like interest rates are going to continue to rise, and you have fewer competitive buyers.
Yes.
And so it's a great time to buy. So what's happening in Seattle is a little bit of a perception, and people are sitting on their hands a little bit, and they're not activating the market. I list a condo today in downtown Kirkland for $1 million. It'll sell in a week. Mm-hmm. If it's in good condition.
Yeah.
There are other markets that are similar. If you price it right, there's demand. So we have reached a point where the market has dramatically shifted in terms of activity per house. And that was bound to happen. We rose so fast in a 6-year period from 2012 to 2018. all good things must come to an end, and what goes up must come down a little.
Of course, yeah. So, Troy, with all of the experience that you've had in the other markets that you have been in what's working, and I know that you just have a tremendous voice for here in our market to try to help with the affordability issue. Can you talk a little bit about where you moved from and what was happening in their markets compared to what we're doing wrong here?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into some detail on some of that. But.
Understood, yeah. Initially, we moved here directly from Madison, Wisconsin in 2015. And Madison is a great city. My wife and I had always lived in the Midwest. And in 2012, our daughter Anna started at Seattle U. And the way I relate it is 10 seconds after being at the campus visit in April of 12, I knew she was going to school there. 10 seconds later, I knew we were going to move here because we are big city people, and we were Chicago originally. And while we loved Madison, it was limited in experience and that dynamic snap that Seattle and this area has. I mean, we can be in Vancouver, BC in less than 3 hours, depending on the border crossing, Portland, everywhere in between, out on the San Juans. And so we wanted to be here because I also recognized, I started studying the market, is that Seattle was going to boom. With job growth will lead real estate and housing and development, right? And we are the pinnacle of job growth in the last 6 years. The challenge was, as I started to do my research, is we had some state laws that were really blocking, for want of a better term, providing the right type of housing where an urban growing market in a big city like Seattle has or is, and the area, from being produced and being produced at affordable price points. In 2012, when I visited, I could have bought a nice house for $500,000. That house is now close to $1 million. And that's gonna leave a mark, if you will, because only a certain percentage of our population can afford that. And so we did not backfill, if you will, that $500,000 with quality new inventory options. And so the challenge with that is primarily the condo law and how they're handled in the state.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that, Troy? The law possibly, or more or less, some of these possible solutions.
Yeah, there's a lot of solutions to the condominium law. The current law was written in response to essentially no really good consumer protection laws back in the day. In the first kind of chapter, if you will, of the Seattle condominium market, where there was not significant protections for the consumer, and there were some horror stories out there with buildings that were converted or built that 2, 3, 4 years after the association and the individual consumers take over, the sheeting of the building starts falling off, and there's it's a 40-unit building that with a $4 million capital improvement need.
Yeah.
Ouch, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, people tend to forget it. Back in that time frame, homes were fairly affordable. While condos are a preferred method of living for usually in urban markets the size of ours of 30 or 40% of the population, like in New York or LA or San Diego or Chicago or Boston, in Seattle, affordable homes were still aplenty. We were talking about where you live, right?
Yeah,
West Seattle was super affordable 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, and so there's all these, these properties that went up in the second, like Bellevue Towers and all these other condos that came online after the Condo Liability Act, which essentially overprotected the consumer and essentially was a shakedown for lawsuits, for litigation. And litigation is not an efficient, timely, or inexpensive way to fix defects or issues. And it's proven that it's essentially blocked out huge swaths of new inventory at affordable price points. In Vancouver, BC, for example, they'll bring on 20,000 condo units a year.
Wow.
And we were bringing on like an average of 250 a year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right? And so that then compresses the demand into that single-family home space, and then it drives up the prices. Unfortunately, it's driven up the prices so significantly that it's driven it beyond the means of many of our households. And we all here in the studio, we make our living by helping people achieve their real estate goals and investments and the American dream. And there are so many valid reasons why home ownership is a key fundamental need for a family's,
strong economy,
right, and a strong economy. And our challenge is that we've not provided a diversity of price points and types. In some cases, it's zoning or the Growth Management Act or some other things. But in the condo situation, that's a big one.
So, Troy, let's talk about condo conversion. So, I want to make sure that our listeners know how much you're putting into this effort. And, we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But, and one of the solutions that you talk about is condo conversions. So share a little bit more on that.
It's interesting, with the downturn, and you may have noticed this too, Amy, the reality is that there's a downturn in the rental market, right?
Yes.
And there's a tremendous amount of inventory in the pipeline being built. And we're seeing actually job growth slow down. The condo conversion law here is so deleterious. I just used a big word.
Yeah, say that again.
Deleterious.
Like it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm going to try to slip that into every conversation today. But it's so bad, another word, that it inhibits condo conversions from being done, and in a couple of various reasons. The problem with that is good quality condo conversions come in at a much more affordable price point to the marketplace.
Yes.
New construction in the Seattle market is extremely expensive. Carry time is 3 to 4 years. It takes it takes to get through mandated governmental approvals. Labor costs are way up for lots of reasons. Material costs are way up. Tariffs have hurt that recently. Time is money. And so the challenge of thinking we can solve our affordability through new construction, that just ain't happening. So condo conversions provide a really great way to convert a quality building, make sure there are protections for the incoming consumers and actually the existing tenants. If I convert a building in downtown Redmond, I'll guarantee you 40% of the buyers are already living there.
Yeah.
And they get access to home ownership, and developers would love that with all the pre-sales. So there's ways to build in the law, and this is what happens in other states. But unfortunately, in Washington State, we went to the too far extreme. We had no protection, and now we've got too much protection. So the consumer essentially, with that shift, has no protection in terms of housing choice and availability, and we are where we're at.
Yes. Troy, it's such great information. We're going to come back to this. Coming up next, we're going to stick around right here with Troy Thiel, the Thiel team at Windermere. We're talking about the shifting market and how do we upshift. Coming up after this break on 1150 AM KKNW.
With over 30 years of real estate success in 3 major markets, the Thiel team knows what it takes to help their buyers, sellers, and developer clients achieve their real estate goals. Use an expert. Contact the Thiel team today for a free consultation. The combined skills, experience, and tools of the #1 office in the state, the Thiel team at Windermere Yarrow Bay will get you across the finish line. Call today at 425-941-8457 or email troythiel@windermere.com to connect.
Hi, I'm Troy Thiel, and my wife Karen and I are the Thiel team with the Windermere Yarrow Bay office in Kirkland. We work throughout the Seattle market, and we love helping people achieve their real estate goals. If you'd like to talk to us about what your goals are and how we can help you, give us a call at 425-941-8457.
You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
Welcome back to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell.
And your co-host, Keelan Harvey.
A little bit delayed there, our local mortgage experts.
I was so excited about Troy. I know,
I'm so excited about our conversation.
Yeah,
we're right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 27th show. We bring into studio each week the best experts in our local market on everything money. If you're hearing our show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we're here to answer any questions or connect you with amazing guests that we have on studio today. You can call the show at 1-855-400-1150 or go online at themoneyhour.com. And still in studio, we have Troy Thiel of the Thiel team at Windermere. The shifting market and how do we upshift?
So to go back to it, Troy, we were talking about conversion from, a multifamily to condominiums, how that'd be cheaper. And some of the challenges that we have with that. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening to fix it, or what can we do to fix it?
Well, there's a lot of great conversations occurring. The Washington Association of Realtors, I was on the state board, and I'm on the Seattle-King County Association of Realtors Government Affairs Committee. We created a condo liability group to address this about a year and a half ago. And there's been some meetings about that. There's conversations about legislation. In Olympia in 2018, there were a few things floated in the House, and they did not get through that would address some of the issues. I think we learned from that. And what was interesting is the state legislators that I know and I witnessed in speeches, they thought they had a great 2018 Olympia, but when they came back, their constituents' number one issue was affordable housing, undoubtedly. And it's number one on their lips and on their minds. And so there's what I love about where we're at is we have the realtors industry, the builders industry, the nonprofit housing developer industry groups, because they want to do condos too that are affordable.
Yeah.
We have housing advocates. Basically everyone in their quote unquote silos is talking about this. I want to bring all the silos together, and there's ways to do that. There's good stuff happening. There's conversations happening at very high levels that are bringing legislation on. They're addressing some of the issues, defining what a defect is, having the developers required them to have a warranty for the common element and the limited common element, and giving them the right to cure rather than going straight to litigation, which is extremely expensive and onerous. And most developers put in their pro forma 20 to 30% more. That's how much more they charge per unit.
Wow.
The cost for the liability insurance alone, which has limits that pretty much are tapped out. The insurance agencies or the companies have left the building, if you will. That adds to the cost and makes housing, this kind of delivery, even more unaffordable. So fixing that by giving them the right to cure it. And instead of going to litigation, having a mediation arbitration. If the developer were to say, you know what, I don't think that's a defect, I'm not going to fix that, have a mediator arbitration. That's one of the legislative ideas that's been floated. There's other important stuff that has been floated and is involved in the conversation. One of them is that the developer also would maybe contribute a percentage. That's what the other states I've been active in, to the Capital Reserve Fund. So the consumer knows that, hey, I know 6, 7, 8, 9 years down the road if a hot water tank breaks for the association, there's money in the kitty, right?
Yeah.
And on top of that, a third-party inspection at the beginning of the certificate of occupancy for the project that says, hey, we've had a qualified inspector that says this building is in excellent condition, right?
Yeah.
Right from the get-go. So if I'm a consumer, I feel protected because it's protected. There's a warranty. The developer has a right to cure. And then another important thing that is part of the current law that is looking like it's strongly going to get through is that it absolves from liability to be sued the board of directors who have to make the decision to sue the developer. Because so they're on the hook currently. They can get sued personally too.
Wow.
Yeah,
if they
crazy.
don't join the lawsuit. And so this is litigation is the rights of the trial attorneys has sort of impeded everybody else's and this is the challenge of our time is we need to provide more housing at different price points and more types of housing that Seattle and Washington State needs.
So, Troy, great conversation. Does that equal action for us in the near future?
Gosh, we hope, right?
I know. It's a tough one.
It is. The silos are all talking about it. I was at the Master Builders Association Housing Summit yesterday, the action plan for housing.
Yeah, you're getting around everywhere. How much time do you really have? There's 24 hours in a day, right?
Yeah, thank goodness for coffee. And I'm taking naps now, too, a little more often.
Good.
But the Master Builders had a fantastic event yesterday, and I'm just going to read a quote. This is where they're at. As our region continues to face a significant housing crisis, we believe bold solutions are needed to help meet this vision. It is vital that we close the gap between housing supply and demand and work together to make housing attainable for all. And that is, if I were to read the Realtors last conference, it would be very similar.
Yeah.
I spoke to the Washington Mortgage Bankers Board of Directors at their dinner last week. I ran a national panel in Las Vegas at a conference about this last week. Next week, I'm speaking to the Washington Mortgage Banker Investment Group. Everybody is on this, and state legislators are on this. I don't know where the governor is, but it'll be nice to get him involved with this. So we have gotten good feedback so far. One of the state legislators who was sort of blocking the legislation last year has gotten out of the way and is now part of the solution, which is fantastic. I think we have to remember that, yes, we have a crisis. We have, quote, an inflection point of where our market's at. This crisis is our opportunity to fix it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great people. This is the innovation center of technology and the economy. Let's do that for housing,
yes.
right? So if I were to make a challenge, I always like to say start with the end in mind. And I would like us to be the fastest growing in home ownership of any major metropolitan area, because we are way under average when it comes to home ownership.
Yes.
And when you have that big target, then you can backfill. What's it going to look like to get there?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Troy, you don't have a crystal ball, but I'd be curious to get your opinion. What do you think it's going to look like? Like, what's our future here in Seattle? And I mean, there's the ideal scenario, but what do you think is going to happen if you had to make a prediction? Not to just put you on the spot like that or anything.
Sure can.
Wow. Yeah. First, my hair will come back. Secondly, this is a real crisis. Between now and the end of Olympia session in April, these silos we're talking about coming together, the Washington mortgage bankers, the realtors, the builders, the nonprofit housing developers. And what's great to see is the legislators, when I'm witnessing these events and these people talking, they're on the ball and they're researching it.
That's really neat to hear.
Yeah, because this is the year for the big fix. This is not the year to go low. I think there was, I have to be honest, in my opinion, an incremental approach to the fix the last couple years. Looking at what's happened with our market, we've lost 27% unit sales, and the median price was down 10% from 6 months before.
Yeah.
Crisis. And we haven't even talked about rental housing.
Yeah.
But as goes home sales, goes rentals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is all one of the reasons the chambers are also involved in business organizations. So this is an issue for employment and consumers. I mean,
sure.
HQ2, Amazon, that was in my opinion, a very large canary in a coal mine that we sort of ignored.
Mm-hmm.
That, your largest employers decided to grow the same size somewhere else.
Well, and I think that, too, is a big start of the consumer confidence or the perception, as you'd mentioned before. The confidence and the perception go hand to hand. And, just having these things happening and these conversations going on, really started that.
Yeah, so I'm
concern.
Agreed. And I think that sometimes it takes crisis and pain,
sure.
And now the pain is being felt in pretty much every area. Even apartment owners and developers, they're seeing a reduced demand for their product. At the same time, they've got a lot of product about ready to hit the road. So let's give them an option. Oh, by the way, single family home and subdivision builders are running out of land, and if you want to do the hour 45 commute each way, that's really hurting people. Our roads can't take that. As we expand. And so let's figure out how to be far more efficient with the stuff we already have built, conversions, and upzoning where appropriate. Hala in Seattle, and there's other examples throughout the suburbs, transit-oriented development. There's a nice laundry list of other ways we can fix it beyond the condo law.
Yeah,
well,
sorry.
You go ahead, Keelan.
I was just going to say, you had me interested. I mean, the viaduct is done, which is crazy. And like January, there's a talk of all this transit and things going on. And, we're talking about development, our geography here. How do you think that's going to play a part in all of this as well?
It's interesting. I'm a Chicago guy, and, when I needed to get downtown, I just jumped a train, right?
Yeah.
I'm a Kirkland guy now. When I need to get downtown Seattle, I just jump the bus.
Yeah.
Or I ride my bike, or I'll occasionally drive, but driving is like 10 or 15%. I would encourage people just to try it. I got to the airport last week by a bus and a train transfer, and I worked the entire time I was riding. So, we're a big city, and half of us are from somewhere else, and half of us live that urban existence. So we need to sort of understand that group is happening, and then we need to pay attention to what's happening already with transit-oriented development. The train line to the east side gets announced, and in advance, I believe a lot of Redmond was already upsizing, knowing that was coming. And then you look at the Springs District in Bellevue on the east side of 405. Humongous project going on right near the train station. Those types of things we're discussing in Kirkland at our bus rapid transit locations going up 10 stories over air rights.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, over the 405, right? Wow. Because we can provide housing in an area that's not going to impair anybody's views, and it will be affordable, or it can be affordable if it's handled well.
That's some out-of-the-box solutions.
Well, yeah. I guess I have a kid in Tokyo, 38 million people, and every time I go there, I'm like, whoa, we can do this. And I'm a Chicago guy, and and every 4 blocks where the L stops, there's some nice multifamilies, and there's mixed density in between the zones. And Seattle, I think, recognized this, and the council did with HALA. HALA got shut down a little bit and slowed down. There's going to be a hearing. But I don't think the upzoning, look at what's happening in the U district, all that upzoning, that's going to make the U. I mean, you're a grad. You know how cool a place that is, and it's just going to get better. Yeah. And people always have a choice. If you don't want to live in a dense place, you can move somewhere else.
Exactly.
You're just going to have to sit in traffic a little bit.
So, Troy, let's talk about the Growth Management Act and, how long it's been since there's been any changes and how that might be a solution as well to assist with affordable housing and the inventory.
Yeah, GMA is definitely in the conversation. The Ruckelshaus Institute out of the Political Science Group Department at Washington State is going around the state and working with local electeds and city managers and stuff and people that are involved and the citizenry on kind of strategic thoughts on how to fix it. And then I've heard many state legislators and senators discussing that the GMA we can strategically and surgically improve it. I mean, that's a plan that's been that was done by planners back in the 80s and processed in 1990. Things have changed. Its expectations of growth were a quarter of what we really saw. Yeah. So, let's not pay allegiance to a plan that today's realities don't actually reflect.
Exactly.
Let's adapt. That's important in planning to the realities of the ground. Otherwise, I do have some concern if we don't fix these things in 2019 in Olympia, and we don't make some really strong movements to this big holistic fix like the Master Builders one and so many others. That confidence and that perception, once that starts the downslide,
it goes down quick.
It goes down quick, and it's hard to stop.
Yeah.
And I think this is our time to fix it. We need to put a full court press in the next 6 months to not only strengthen what's being discussed today, but look and see what are we missing. And the conversion is, quite frankly, we're missing conversions in the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's critical and key to providing far more affordable housing units.
It sounds like we've just been kind of behind the times, really. Like, it's just been, we're just not keeping up with some of the other places in the country. I mean, my family's from Europe, and just to see some of the, the developments in bigger cities and stuff, we're just hold on to this kind of, I don't know, rural.
We don't want to change.
We don't want to change. It's like a rural kind of feel type thing. So what advice would you give to, like, our listeners on how they can get involved, or what should they do, or what can we do to help?
Yeah, again, if you're a part of any, this is an issue for municipalities. This is an issue for business associations. This is an issue for your legislators. This is an issue for your community. We're all paying higher and higher taxes. What are our car tabs to handle all this growth? I mean,
ridiculous.
Multiply our car tabs times 4 million people. Ouch, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like this isn't affecting us, and we need to play a part of it with our policy leaders. And you mentioned Europe. There's some concepts of other types of zoning that we don't allow for, like smaller mixed use. 2 to 4 units are beautiful things.
Yeah.
If done well. You talk about Europe. I mean, I would love to build a 2 or a 3 or 4 flat, but all of Seattle and almost all of the major suburbs downzone those types of zone areas to single family only. Vancouver, which has a maybe even worse problem than us with affordability, this literally upzoned every single family zone property to 2 to 4 units if you want it.
Interesting.
Except for historic, because they recognize that.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that I think 5-10% of those people are going to pick to do that at some point. They also have something called the Heritage Home movement, which allows for some really cool stuff. So we can learn from others. I think those that are listening need to understand that there's a risk to all of us if we don't fix it.
Yes.
I mean, median prices have come down 10%. We were talking about this before the show.
Yep.
I mean, the equity that people have essentially, quote unquote, lost Now the gain, they almost doubled in a 6-year period. But
exactly. You kind of if you put that in perspective, it's not as bad. But
it's the big but. Let's not backslide into affordability. Let's supply side it, because the supply side also has the aspect of putting more money potentially into government coffers to help the homeless issues. Through increased unit sales, that means more REIT tax. If a condo building or an apartment building turns to condos, the actual tax increment that the municipalities make is 40 to 50% more than it's a single tax bill to one apartment owner.
Yeah.
Think about that. Plus, it reduces the housing cost, which gives people more economic capacity to make the economy grow even more.
Yeah. So, Troy, we've got 1 minute to wrap up the show here. And just, one tip that you have for our buyers out there that are listening, especially to the conversation that we've had today.
Mm-hmm. One tip.
One tip in 60 seconds, Troy.
In 60 seconds. Contact your city council, your mayor, your state legislators that you know or you don't know, and say, affordable housing is the biggest issue of our community, and what are you doing about it? We'd love to help. Consider fixing the condo law, adding conversions, addressing the ADU, accessory dwelling unit challenges that are currently in the legislation, making them more liberal. Also, multifamily tax credits. So give developers incentives to do that. That's another issue that's out there. We've got to realize that we're a big city, and we can. Let's play like the other big cities do, and how they've provided housing across the spectrum of type and price points, and we can learn from them.
Love that. I love that one tip all combined into many. Troy, all the amazing things that you're doing out there for consumers' rights and affordability, and just really taking the wealth of knowledge that you have in other cities and what you've been in and see that's working. Just a shout out to you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and the talks are happening, but we got to get to action.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think when the silos come together to help push it even more, and we speak, there's strength in numbers together. We're in a good place. We're not there yet. Let's make the next 6 months stick.
Love it.
Exciting.
And this is Tina Mitchell signing off for the day.
And your co-host, Keelan Harvey.
Your mortgage experts, local mortgage experts, and we'll appreciate you listening to the show today. We'll be here next week, same time, same place, right here at 1150 a.m. KKNW. Have a great weekend.
Tina Mitchell, MLO 145420, and Keelan Harvey, MLO 1330075, are licensed loan originators with Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, and MLS 7233. The views expressed by the speakers on the preceding program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC, nor are they necessarily endorsed by Gateway Mortgage Group, LLC.